How's it going, everyone? Dr. Frankie here, and it's another Thursday. And I really didn't want to not show up for you all today. With all that's going on in the Middle East and in Israel and Palestine, I'm half Israeli. I'm not sure how many of you know that. And my dad actually lives in Israel most of the year, and my extended family is there too. So we're all being impacted pretty severely about what's going on there with Hamas and on the conflict, and it's terrifying and it's weighing on me heavily. But I wanted to show up for you all today, nonetheless. It's actually a good distraction for me to delve into my work and connect with you all. It makes me really happy. So here I am, and I want to thank you for showing up and tuning in for today's topic. And for those of you that are new and haven't subscribed to my channel, I want to encourage you to do so. We're almost at 13,000 subscribers, and I've been doing videos on YouTube for a decade and a half. And I'm a clinical psychologist, been practicing for over 2 decades. And I am the CEO of Little Gay Book Matchmaking, which is a queer matchmaking firm that's national, and also the CEO of Little Black Book Matchmaking, which is a heterosexual matchmaking company. So feel free to get in there if you're single, fill out a profile. We're always looking for potential matches for our clients. We also have dating events, single mingles across the country. So if you're wanting to put yourself out there and date in real time, real life, real interactions, then I want to encourage you to check out our events that are on our website. And they're primarily now they're queer events. Eventually we will get more heterosexual events on the calendar. But anyway, I want to jump into today's topic. And definitely, if you have any comments, reactions, I want to hear about them, and I want to be able to respond to them. So definitely post and share if there's anybody that you know will benefit from my topic today. So 15 reasons not to get married. That's today's focus. There are as many reasons to get married as there are marriages. A desire to build a family together, to take care of each other through sickness and health, to run a business together. The list goes on and on. That's not to say all these reasons hold equal weight, however. We've all known at least one person whose reasons for getting married make our eyebrows shoot skyward. And sometimes you aren't aware of it when this person's you, actually. If you're planning to get married, take a second to take stock. If any of these things that I'm going to describe in a second here apply to you, you may really want to reconsider. Number one, you don't feel willing or capable of being messy. It's easy for us to imagine marriage as the ultimate reward for finally getting it together, being free of baggage, finally having any issues under control, and having molded ourselves into a solid partner who's easy to be around. While most of us fantasize about this eventuality, the difficult truth is that making a marriage work actually requires a willingness to be messy, to be fully vulnerable and authentic in your relationship, even during times when you feel lost or uncertain and not at all under control. When people share aphorisms like marriage is hard work, this is what they're talking about. If the idea of committing to being truly unvarnished and vulnerable, even during the moments you're least proud of, forever, sounds like nails on a chalkboard to you, you may not be ready for marriage. Number two, you primarily identify as an independent person. Independence is a positive trait. Don't get me wrong, I'm really independent. It's good to be capable of taking care of yourself and having your own visions for your life. However, there's a difference between being independent and being someone whose whole sense of self is based entirely on their independence. The latter person will be unwilling to engage in the kinds of reciprocal vulnerability and caretaking that a healthy marriage requires. Pride in your ability to be independent is one thing. Viewing intentional practices of interdependence as weak is another. Number three, you know you have toxic relationship habits. None of us are perfect in relationships or in life, and that includes me. And you don't need to be perfect to be married. But if you've been told by partners, by friends, loved ones, therapists, family members, and so on, that your relationship behaviors seem toxic, or if you know you struggle with issues around keeping conflict respectful and healthy, including jealousy, possessiveness, or control, you need to work on getting a different place with those issues before you commit to building a marriage and a home with someone. Number 4, you aren't willing to work on or change any unhealthy relationship with substances. Addiction isn't a moral indicator, and past or present addiction issues don't mean anything about who you are as an individual. You don't even need to be in perfect sobriety to be in a relationship. Is there even such a thing? However, if you know you have an active addiction, or if you don't use the term addiction, but know that your relationship to alcohol or other substances isn't healthy, you need to have a plan to address this in a genuine way before building a life with someone. Sometimes we can get into relationships as a means towards sobriety, thinking that the stakes of wanting the relationship to work will help us get our priorities together. This isn't a fair thing to do to your partner or to your own recovery journey. Most recovery programs suggest avoiding intimate relationships until you're on solid footing with your own personal sobriety. While there's no one blueprint for living in recovery, it's something to really think about and consider. Number 5, you haven't actually thought much about your personal take on marriage, but you know you're supposed to. We live in a culture obsessed with marriage and all it signifies. We have an overriding shared narrative of finding the one and settling down, and are often told our adult lives aren't complete until we've done so. This is before even factoring in your family's desires or your religious values. It's shockingly easy to get swept up in the momentum of feeling like marriage is just what you do next at this stage in your life. Do you personally have a desire to get married? If so, why? If you haven't answered those questions, it might be good to take a beat and consider before jumping in headfirst. Number 6, you think therapy or self-work is great for other people, but not for you. Everyone needs therapy, maybe a little reductive, but it's incontrovertibly true that you all have to do the work, right? Including me. I do work. No matter where you came from or what your life has been like, you have some baggage. And part of your job as a partner and a spouse is to take on the work of continually examining and working with your own personal baggage, being aware of how it's impacting your relationship and taking accountability for that. If you aren't prepared to do that, either because you think it doesn't apply to you or because the prospect seems to be too daunting, you may not be able to handle the emotional responsibilities of marriage. Number 7, you haven't developed healthy relationships with your family. Many of us face pressure from our parents, our cultures, our families of origin to get married and have kids. But if this is the main motivator for getting married, or if it isn't, and you know that your family is going to expect to be the priority or have unrestricted access to your home and your family, you need to work on boundaries before building a household with someone. It's normal for your partner to support you in dealing with a difficult family, but it's not fair to expect them to deal with your family showing up unannounced, violating your privacy, demanding grandchildren, or otherwise being invasive or intrusive. Number 8, your primary motivation for marriage is material support from your partner. Especially in the United States, where so many social supports and necessary infrastructure are made more accessible by being married, it's normal to factor in material security when making a decision about marriage. However, if it's the main or only motivation and you're pursuing a real marriage, not a green card or health insurance workaround, you need to take a step back and evaluate whether you're being fair to your partner. And number 9, marriage is all you've ever wanted, and your relationship is the most important thing in your life. Alternatively, some of us know exactly why we want to get married, because our relationship is the most important thing in our lives, and we can't imagine being without it. And marriage feels like reassurance that we won't lose it, and also a stamp of approval. If this sounds like you, it may actually be time to take a step back. We know it isn't healthy to have your partner or your relationship be your everything. And if you're driven by a deep, overwhelming anxiety about losing your partner or becoming less important to them, you may be in the passenger seat with anxious attachment behind the wheel. If these concerns aren't addressed, your marriage may become rapidly unhealthy and not the idyllic pot of gold at the end of the rainbow you've hoped for. Number 10, if you aren't ready to be truly transparent with your partner and find yourself keeping secrets, intimacy is hard for many of us, actually most of us. For some of us, that includes even knowledge about ourselves or our lives we feel we don't want to tell our partner. Whether it's about shame, a gambling problem, career failures, insecurities, or something that we're worried our partner might see us differently over. Cheating, children from past relationships, a history of congenital illness in the family. You need to be able to be honest with your partner or you shouldn't marry them. Full stop. Number 11, your partner has minor children and you aren't interested in parenting. Dating someone with kids isn't off limits for childless adults. They're not aliens you should be freaked out about. That said, especially if the kids are younger and or they still live at home, a serious relationship with a parent is also a serious commitment to their kids. Even if you choose not to call yourself a step-parent, you're still going to be an adult who plays a huge part in their lives and needs to take that responsibility very seriously. Doesn't sound like something you're up for? That's fair. You shouldn't be getting married to a parent then. Number 12, getting married isn't about this person becoming your spouse, but wanting to get married in general. When did you know you wanted to marry this person? Was it before you even met them or when they proposed? If this marriage isn't about this specific relationship and the way it will deepen you or grow with a new title, and it's more that getting married feels like an accomplishment you're impatient for, you need to take a step back and do the work of locating your self-worth elsewhere. A marriage just for the sake of being married will turn sour quickly for both you and your partner. Number 13, you aren't in a comfortable place with conflict and accountability. Conflict is hard for everybody, but it's necessary. If you find yourself bending over backwards to avoid conflict or shutting down entirely during it, you may need to be ready to take on the work of a marriage. Committed relationships are the fastest way to reach emotional growth because you don't have a choice. You work on it or bow out. If you don't want to bow out, you need to be ready to work on it. And this includes accountability and admitting when you're wrong or have caused harm. If you need to be the victim or the winner in every argument, marriage is definitely not for you, at least not now. Number 14, you're less looking forward to being married than you are relieved not to be alone. Is the idea of getting married exciting to you, or do you just feel a certain kind of anxiety relax? For some of us, the idea of being spinsters or having no one to take care of us when we age is an overriding fear, and it can transmute into a rush to get married just so you don't feel like you'll be alone forever. Making big decisions out of fear is never a good idea, and making a decision that links you to another person in a significant legal way definitely isn't. Number 15, last but not least, you're tired of people asking when you're going to get married. Enough said. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. If you had any reactions, you have comments, questions, you think this would be helpful for somebody that you know and you care for and love, please share. And I will be here with you all next week with another, hopefully really helpful and interesting topic. Big hugs, kisses, pray for peace in the world. Let's be kind to each other. Let's be able to communicate about what's going on in the world and leave room for different ideas and that sort of thing. Because right now it's feeling like we're all sort of huddled up by ourselves, afraid to share about what's going on, but it's scary for everyone. And I just want to encourage you to take care of yourselves, be safe, keep communicating, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye, everyone.